Another type of that financing is what is known as factoring. So factoring is typically more expensive than account receivable financing. And factoring is typically where you have a transaction where the lender is technically buying that invoice from you. So it's a little bit, structurally, it's a little bit different. Financially, it's a little more expensive. And the beauty of factoring is you could take one specific invoice and get cash from that particular invoice, borrow against that particular invoice, versus borrowing against all of your invoices.
Okay.
So that's some of the subtleties and nuances there. There's certain industries where there's kind of a specialized lender in account receivable and factoring, and that would typically be in your construction industry, and then in healthcare. So construction and healthcare have some lien rights, lien nuances, and so all lenders who might be alternative lenders may not lend into construction or healthcare. It might take a specialty lender. So that's kind of a broad perspective of accounts receivable and factoring. Again, great for manufacturing companies, service companies, employment companies. So if you're providing temp services to somebody, to a company, and the employees are your employees, but you're leasing them or putting them on site somewhere else, but you have to pay your employees 7 or 15 days later, but your customers aren't paying you for 30 days. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of times where you see that type of financing come in.
So would you explain again for me and for our listeners or viewers the difference between factoring and accounts receivables? They seem to, in my mind, they're kind of very similar, but you were mentioning there's some nuances between where factoring is different. Absolutely.
So yeah, they're very similar. The difference is typically factoring will, number one, cost a little bit more, but what you're doing is you're getting a cash advance against a specific invoice. Let's say you have 20 customers. Most of your customers pay you, let's say, within 30 days. But some customers, the contracts that we have with those customers, it may be 90 days before they pay you. Hopefully not longer than 90 days, but let's say it's 90 days. So those customers you may factor because you don't want to wait those 90 days. The other customers pay their bills, or your contracts with them are quicker. And so you would use either, maybe it's a line of credit or account receivable financing for them.
Okay.
And so it blends together a lot of times, but there are some companies that just do factoring. There's some companies that just do account receivables financing, some lenders who just do specific areas.